We fly. Bombers, fighters, the heavies, even planes without a cockpit. We take pride in that, and we make sure to let each other know it every chance we get. But make no mistake, we're all brothers and sisters. We meet till the end. In a fight, we have each other's back, or else we're not coming home. So if you see us walking around base with our sleeves rolled up, acting like we're invincible, that kind of confidence comes with the job. We put our lives on the line defending our freedoms, testing new aircraft, and training new pilots. We turn everyday citizens into our nation's sword and shield. We've logged more flight hours than we can count and paid the price to be the best. Because of that training, because of the bond we share, because of the battles we fought, this Air Force is second to none. Up there, we don't fear anything. Fear is what we instill in the enemy every time war wheels up. No, we weren't born with wings, but we sure as hell earned them every single day. Aim high, airmen.
Air Force! Good morning, everyone. The band will now start with selection. And now we will have the advancement of the colors by American Legion Post 273. Would you all please rise?
We will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. On behalf of our local Legion Post 273, I would like to welcome everyone here today for the Veterans Day program for 2022. We are honored to celebrate all of our veterans, and we thank all of you for your service. So at this time, we will have the marches of the Armed Forces by the Bellevue High School Band, and we ask that when you hear your service song, please stand up. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this year, one of Bellevue's native sons, the Wisconsin Air National Guard, Colonel Eric Kilbert. So Eric.
Good morning, everyone. And first off, I'd like to thank the faculty and staff for putting this together today. It's truly a nice event that you do. American Legion, thanks for presenting the colors today. The band, all the great music that I got to listen to today. Wait a second. All right, perfect. And student body, thanks for entertaining my speech today. I'll try to take as long as I can so you can get out maybe a little bit more class. We'll see how that goes. And without these last people, I don't think I would be here today. So I want to point out some special guests. They're sitting here in the second row. My mom and dad, my wife, my son Corbin, and Connor and Keenan are out here somewhere. I haven't found them yet, but I know they're out there. So my mother-in-law Barb and family and friends that came to watch hard to believe, 31 years ago, I was sitting in the school, class of 1992, probably sitting in the bleachers on the side too. I wish I could tell you who was giving the speech, but unfortunately I can't. Maybe one day you'll remember, 31 years from now, the speech that I give. We'll see how it goes. But, let's see, how did I find myself here today? Well, about 5 weeks ago, a good friend of mine, John Pitlow, showed up on my phone, and before I answered it, I had a bunch of things going through my mind, like, shoot, my dues are due already? Gosh, how do I keep screwing this up? It seems to be a running thing, so before I answered it, I was trying to come up with my excuse for this year of what I was going to tell him, and assure him that I was going to come drop those dues off. So we'll work on that, John, I promise. But I answered the phone, and to my surprise, he asked if I'd come give a speech here today. And any of you know me well, know that I don't spend a lot of time talking about my military career. I don't share a lot of information, and that's probably a fault of mine. But luckily for you, John, 2 weeks before your call, my wife talked to me about how it's time for me to start sharing my life. Start telling the stories so my boys can hear them. Start telling my stories so the community can hear them. So you can thank Carrie that I'm here today. That being said, I did think it was going to be a small crowd. I had no idea that it was going to be something like this, and I might have come up with that excuse if I'd known that I was going to end up on the front page of the Bellevue. So I thought I'd start by telling everyone a little bit about my career. 31 years ago, I enlisted in the United States Air Force. I had the opportunity to serve both as an enlisted airman, and then I converted over to be an officer. My story begins in July of 2001. I was selected to join, selected to attend SUPT, Specialized Undergraduate Pilot Training. It's an intense course, it lasts about a year, and it was one of the biggest struggles I had in my life. But like any good 22-year-old man, I thought, well, how can I make this intense course easier? Well, I decided to get married a couple weeks before that. So here I am. I'm thinking I'm doing the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to give my wife a honeymoon down in Del Rio, Texas, and she'll get to stay nice and warm. Anyway, I'm sure she tells people stories about that honeymoon for a long time. So while I was in pilot training, the first year of my life, it consisted of 3 phases. It started off at an academic phase, pretty intense, a lot of reading, a lot of books, and it was overwhelming, but it was good. And then I moved on to the T-37. It's a trainer aircraft. It's no longer in service. They've replaced it now with the T-6. And then finally I ended up in the T-38. We flew over 200 hours in about a 7-month time frame, and I also spent about another 200 hours on flight simulator. It's the kind of program where they don't honor or they don't respect anything you do good. They just spend a lot of time telling you about the things you do bad. They don't have time to tell you about the good things. They only have time to tell you about the bad things so you get yourself ready to go. So through that time, I had a lot of struggles. There was a lot of good days, a lot of bad days. I'm sure everyone's going through them myself. But I always knew that I had my wife at home to help support me through the troubling times. So I thank her for what she's done for me. After pilot training, I went off to Eltis Air Force Base. That's where I learned to fly the KC-135, which I fly here today. It was about a 4-month class. It was a little less intense at that point. We earned our wings. You saw in the first video about that. At that point, they were ready to teach me how to be a pilot. After Eltis Air Force Base, I ended up in Sioux City, Iowa. I spent about 13 years there. When you get back there, you start off as a co-pilot. So I sat in the right seat. I had an instructor pilot in the left seat, and I spent about 1,200 hours learning how to fly that airplane and learning everything to know about it. After about that amount of time, they sent me off to aircraft commander school. This is when they kind of give you the keys to the car. So now I get to sit in the left seat, and I get to fly around with young airmen and teach them how to fly airplanes a little bit. I'm not quite an instructor pilot yet, but we'll get there. So some of the memorable things that happened to me while I was an aircraft commander, I got the rare opportunity to take one of our airplanes over to Afghanistan. It was a big deal. Here I am, I wish I knew the exact age, but I was probably around the 29 to 30 years old. I'm taking an aircraft with 2 other people into harm's way. And that is an amazing accomplishment and an amazing feat. You have no idea what it's like to fly in the air through the dark into hostile territory and know that your training is going to get you back home safe. And I was responsible for 2 other people in that airplane. So it was a great event, it was a great confidence builder, and I'm happy I got to do that. Since then, I've flown a ton more times. I've spent a lot of time in both Afghanistan and Iraq. And I eventually worked my way up to being an IP, an instructor pilot. As an instructor pilot, our job was to take the young airmen like myself when I first showed up there, and I taught them how to fly the airplane. I taught them how to get ready, and I taught them how to become that aircraft commander that could take that airplane into harm's way at a moment's notice. And that's what we did, and we did that well. So for about until about 2017, we lived in Sioux City. We had a great time. We had a great family, and things were going really good, but we were missing something. What we were missing is the opportunity to live in Bellevue, Iowa, the town that my wife and I cherished. We wanted our kids to call this place home. We wanted our kids to go to the hometown network that we had, and we wanted them to grow up like we had the opportunities to. That being said, there was a lot of confrontation on what school they were going to go to. But we ended up working it out, and I think it worked out for everyone, so here we are. At that point, I moved myself over to Milwaukee. I have about 10 years left in my career at this time, and I kind of had to start from the beginning. I had to dig my way into that unit and earn their trust and see where it took me. It went well for me. Things have gone well. I've progressed. I moved into a squadron commander position in the ops group, and I was in charge of 60 to 70 airmen. I made sure that they were safe. I made sure they were equipped, qualified, and ready to go at a time's notice. And that's what we were. That's what we do, and that's what we do every day. Recently, about January of this year, my boss came to me, and she said, "Hey, what do you think about going over to the maintenance group?" Well, let me back up here a second. So, for all of you that don't know what a Air Force base is like, we call it a wing. And within the wing, there's 3 groups. There's an operations group, a support group, and a maintenance group. So, my whole life I've been in the operations group. I've been in a brotherhood of a bunch of men and women that wear the uniform and we fly over the world. And we know our language. We know how to talk to each other. We know how to really deal with each other. But anyway, so she came and she asked me what I thought about going over to the maintenance group. And all you veterans know when your boss comes to you and asks you what you think about something, she's really telling you you're going there. So I said, well, I haven't really thought about that, and I'm not sure I really wanted to do that. Not that they were bad people, but they were outside of my comfort zone. There were people I didn't really know the way I do today, and it's been a great experience. I wish I could explain to you the dedication and heart that these airmen have that are the maintainers that keep our airplanes going. But I think the Air Force does it a little bit better, and with your approval, I got another quick video I'd like to show of what it is to be an Air Force maintainer.
We weren't the kind to go looking for the spotlight. We didn't need our hands held. We did our jobs just fine without getting pats on the head. Of course, when something went wrong, or something got busted, yeah, that's when the spotlight found us. The Air Force never did manage to build a plane that would fix itself. We're maintainers, flatline warriors. And when it's not hot, miserable, dirty work, it's cold, miserable, dirty work. We love it. We hate it, but we love it. Because we love this country. We love making things right. We love the challenge. We love the pressure, the deadlines, the long hours. If it was easy, we wouldn't get that rush of accomplishment. We live for that rush, and we get it every day. With our hands, we make that jet fly again. We turn a bunch of metal and circuits back into a missile. We're inside these machines, in the cockpits, in the landing gear, the munitions, the engines, every button every pilot ever pushed. That's us. If you think a B-52 has a lot of complicated wires, you've never seen how we're wired. We're part of a team no one on the outside will ever understand. You won't get it until you're in it, until you're one of us. That's our world inside the red line. You enter our world where we tell you. People try to tell us all the time that our jobs are just as important as the pilots. It's not a competition. If we don't do our jobs right, people get hurt. Of course our jobs are important. Do the unsung heroes need to be sung about every now and then? Maybe. But don't sing too long because with all due respect, we've got work to do. We'll roll our eyes and then we'll roll up our sleeves.
we keep on the inside. We are a special breed, maintainers. We're a team, crazy loyal to our country and tirelessly devoted to our mission. We pull 12s, we work nights and weekends, we don't sleep, and we stick together. If it breaks, we fix it, no matter what. We are the men and women who keep this Air Force flying. We're the driving force. We're the glue, we're the sweat, we're the wrenches in the coffee. And if you want to know the truth, there's only one reason maintainers couldn't fix the whole world. Can't fit the whole world into a hangar. Aim high, Airman.
All right, is it working? I wanted to show you that video because until I took this job and until I saw that video, there's a man in this crowd today, my Uncle Ron. I know he worked on airplanes F-4s, and I don't know if I really understood the dedication it took, but I do today, sir, and I appreciate what you've done. I wish I had more time to tell you all the great stories I had, all the great locations I've been in my life, and all the great memories I had, but unfortunately, we'll have to keep some sort of time limit, because I know you guys all got to learn a bunch of stuff yet. But I wrote a nice speech here. I'd like to end it with that. I hope it means something to you. It meant something to me when I wrote it, and we'll just take it from there and see where it ends up. It's truly a privilege for me to be here today, as an airman, an American, and as a veteran. I can't think of another place I'd rather be today than with HBU, a community that supports its veterans the way you do. This day gives us an opportunity to reflect on what it means to be a patriot, to reflect on what it means to be a nation tested by war, and to reflect on both the cost and blessings of liberty. Since General George Washington commanded the Continental Army, over 40 million Americans have served in our nation's armed forces, and over 1 million of them have given their lives in its defense. There can be no doubt that Americans fighting men and women have given much to ensure the great nation stays free. We owe a debt and gratitude to all those who served, to all those who were injured, and especially to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, on the night of September 11, 2001, when President George Bush addressed the nation, he said, "America was targeted for an attack because we are the brightest beacon of freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining." And today, members of our armed services are deployed around the world, at sea, in the air, and on land. They protect our nation's interests and ensure the beacon of light continues to shine, even to the farthest and darkest reaches of the globe. Now, I'm no expert on the good book, but I do know that in the book of Ezekiel, God was searching for someone that would stand the gap, defend the new nation, a warrior that would respect and honor the integrity of the people. Thankfully, our nation has always been blessed to have strong men and women with exceptional courage, people willing and able to stand the gap, defend America whenever Lady Liberties is threatened. And they've answered that call to defend our nation time and time again, on every front and every battle. From every war from independence more than 240 years ago, to World War I, to Pearl Harbor, World War II, Korean and Vietnam War, to 9/11 in Afghanistan, and our current fight in Iraq. America's brave sons and daughters were willing to come forward to stand the gap and engage the enemies, even to the ends of the earth, and we are still doing it today. For 245 years, the men and women of our nation have stepped forward to serve the armed forces, defend our freedoms, that risk their lives for our land, for the people, and the ideals that we cherish. Our battles, our victories, indeed our way of life, are owed not to the great moments or important dates, but owed to the actions and sacrifices of the men and women who are willing to fight for their country and their freedom. America is the country she is because of her heroes, past and present. People who put the nation's interests above self-interest, who put patriotism above profits, and who put the love of country above love of self. Now, more than ever, Americans need men and women who are willing to forego wearing a business suit, forego strolling down the easy street, and forego living the good life, to wear instead a cloth of the nation, to travel instead an uncertain road of fraught with peril, to live instead of life on the ragged edge of danger, to live a life that matters. Our veterans made that conscious choice in their life of sacrifice and service for a greater cause, and for America, that has made all the difference. And while each of them have walked a different road, they all face challenges. They have proven themselves well equipped to meet those challenges. President Ronald Reagan once said, "When life gets tough and the crisis is undeniably at hand, we will find nothing inside ourselves that we haven't already put there." Think about that. The character inside each and every one of our veterans isn't just transformed into the fabric of their being the moment it's needed. It can't be emailed into the hard drives of their spirits or souls, or nor can it be installed as needed. Character is woven into us over a lifelong process that begins in our homes, continues through boot camp, and matures through the interactions and experiences in the services growing up. All of us have learned these things from those who influence us, from our parents to our grandparents to our teachers, and any number of mentors that helped us along the way. Sitting in the crowd today, there's a mentor who I can't think of now. He was instrumental in the start of my military career. When I was ready to enlist, he provided guidance and experience in how the process was going to work. I also had the opportunity to serve my first tour of duty at Office Air Force Base. Most of you know him as Mr. Jess. Mr. Jess, it's hard to believe that 29 years ago, he came and picked me up at the airport and got me home safe that night and took me to my first tour of duty. Thank you for helping me get to where I am today. I encourage all of you students to listen to him and ask him questions. I hope that some of you might even follow in his footsteps. Our veterans come from all across America, represent the diversity and character of our great nation. Our military is stronger for it. They're leaders and volunteers inside and outside the service. They're role models for our citizens. They want to achieve and they want to win. Their fighting spirit is the backbone of our great nation. They exemplify the highest standards of service at home and abroad, at sea and ashore, in combat and in times of peace. Today, our United States military is second to none. We have the most advanced technology, warships, submarines, aircraft in the world. But the best equipment means little if you don't have the hardworking, highly trained, dedicated workforce that those platforms need to bring to life. Our nation's brave men and women, the intrepid souls who have chosen the warrior's way, are cherished to lifeblood that fuels the heart of the greatest nation on earth. My tribute simply would not be complete if I didn't recognize the families we serve. Our military families, they also sacrifice so much for the nation. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, wives, husbands, daughters, and sons. Close friends and loved ones. When our military members deploy abroad, they leave behind their families, their friends, who in their absence soldier on. Life is normal, but I know it's something but normal. Across the many distant miles that separate them, over the weeks, the months that divide them, those who are deployed abroad are always in our thoughts, always in our prayers, and those who stay behind carry the concerns and the worries, the fears that their loved ones might be in harm's way. For our military families out there, this has never been an easy burden. So we thank those who serve today. Let's also remember the heroes on the home front. Our nation's military forces simply could not carry out the duties without the critical support of our families and loved ones each and every day. To those families holding down the home front, I salute you today. It wouldn't be right for me if I didn't mention three young men in the crowd today: Connor, Keenan, and Corey. They spent their entire life supporting the military father. I've missed countless occasions over the years, from holidays, school functions, sporting events, family get-togethers. And last night, I actually returned from a 4-week temporary duty assignment, only to catch up with my children for a few moments this morning before they went off to school. During that time, while I was gone, I missed a state cross-country meet, playoff football game, 5th grade basketball tournament, and yes, 2 days ago I missed 2 boys turning 15. So I'd like to say happy belated birthday, Keenan and Connor. I look forward to catching up with you this weekend, and I hope we have plenty of good times to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're approaching an inflection point in history. We're certainly not approaching anything that resembles the end of history. Freedom and justice hang in the balance, and that scale won't tip on its own accord because I wish it would. Our nation continues to draw our strength from those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. And our nation will continue to draw strength from those who serve tomorrow. An unbroken chain linking Americans generation to generation, keeping that scale of freedom tipping in America's favor. Our strength as our nation also comes from the loyal citizens like you in the audience today. Americans who are aware of the challenges, aware of the opportunities, aware of the dangers that we face. Those of us who serve are grateful patriots of you who support us. We support our families when we're deployed, who make what we are today the world's greatest force, stability and peace on the face of the earth. I'm grateful for all that you do. So I'll conclude today by saying that today your joint forces have assumed the liberties mantle, passed down on an unbroken chain, watch to watch for centuries. No one should doubt the strong U.S. military will continue to stand the global watch for generations to come, as our legacy and lessons of previous wars are passed on to our children and our children's children. Who will also stand and watch and continue to fight against oppression, against injustice, and against those who seek to take our freedom. May God bless each and every one of our soldiers, sailors, Marines, Airmen, Coast Guard, National Guardsmen, and recruits, both past and present, who answer this nation's call to duty. May God truly bless this beautiful school and community. May God bless the United States of America, which has always been and forever shall be the land of the free and home of the brave. Thank you very much for your time.
We'll now have volley and taps by the Post 273 firing squad and color guard. We ask you to all please stand when the taps are played. When the taps are played, we'd like to ask all veterans to please salute. And if you're not a veteran, please place your hand over your heart. We ask you to remain standing while we have the retirement of the colors. Please be seated. We will now have America Our Home by the Bellevue High School Band and the MHS choirs. We will now have the national anthem by the Bellevue High School Band and Bellevue High School and Marquette High School Choir. So we ask you to all join in and sing. Please rise.
Thank
The quilts of valor, ladies, I can have some presentations of quilts, please.
We are presenting 10 quilts of valor today. They're a thank you to our veterans for their sacrifice and service that they have given our country. So when your name is called, if you would just come forward, please, and receive your quilt. John Nickel, Army and Lieutenant. Thank you for your service, John. They will open them up and show the crowd the quilt. The eagle on this quilt is a kind of a sign of the person that made this quilt. She always appliques an eagle on every one of the quilts that she makes. And John, if you would stay standing up here, please. We now ask 4 of his sons to come forward. John Mickle II, Mitchell Mickle, Joshua Mickle, and Daniel Mickle. 4 of his sons are also in the service. And they will also receive the Cross of Valor today. So John Mickle is Air Force Persian Gulf. We thank you for your service. And he also will hold his quilt up. Mitchell, he was Army and Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. One more beautiful than the other, aren't they? Joshua Mickle, Army, Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. And last but not least, Daniel Mickle, Air Force Persian Gulf. We thank you for your service. And Denise, if the mother is in the crowd, she needs to stand and also be recognized. She must be very proud of her husband and 4 sons. And Denise probably thanked you for all the prayers you said while they were in battle. And they can just stay standing up here while the others receive their quilt. Next one would be Randy Hitchcock. And Navy Persian Gulf. Thank you, Randy. Michael Back. Thank you for your service. And these quilts are not meant to be put in the closet. They are to be put where you use them every day. Charles Meedinger. Better known as Chuck. Air Force Lebanon. Thank you for your service, Chuck. Paul Jess, Air Force Persian Guard. Thank you for your service, Paul. Mark Jess, Army Lebanon. Thank you for your service. These quilts are funded through fundraisers and also donations that we receive from you people out here in the crowd. So if you're feeling the heart that you can donate something to our group, we will greatly appreciate it. So now if anybody needs to take a picture of this great group standing here, you can come forward and take your picture. Another round of applause. Unless they want to take them individually later.
So on behalf of the American Legion Post 273, I'd like to thank everybody again for being here today. We really appreciate this, and it's good to have a full house when we do this kind of thing. So, Mr. Recker, if you have any comment?
Thank you, John. I'd just like to, again, on behalf of Bellevue Community Schools, thank everyone for coming. Thank all veterans for their service. Freedom isn't free, and we do appreciate everything you've done for all of us here in America. So let's give a round of applause to all of our veterans here. We'd also like to thank the American Legion for all their help today with organization of this, and a big thank you to Kurt Kilberg. Let's give him a round of applause. That was a wonderful speech. The Bellevue High School Student Council will be sponsoring a veterans meal at Horizon Hall starting roughly at 11 o'clock here after this for all veterans and their spouses, so you can make your way down to Horizon Hall. I believe the hotel is catering that, so stop down there and have a meal. And again, thank you for everything. So at this, that's fine. You don't need to. Anyway, at this point, if we have Marquette High School go first so they can get started with their buses. And if you want to head out the southwest doors, we've set up for lunch, so if you head out the southwest doors, you have your bus there, okay? So if they can get going, and then community members, if you want to stand around, we can do that as well. Community members, when we go to leave, if you go out the southwest doors, you won't interfere with lunch. Bellevue High School students, please wait. Bellevue High School students, please wait. Just a second. Bellevue High School students, please wait. Student council kids, you can go. Student council kids can go, get ready for the meal. Thank you. Band kids, you can do what you need to do.